If you are here to make your first DTF transfer with your xTool Omni DT Fabric model, good news and a couple of warnings. We are going to get to all of it in what ended up being a two-part video, one making the transfer and two what to do after it's printed, because that is just as important as the printing. Now, a couple of warnings. We are also going to get to something that left me absolutely speechless, printing this twice, not only here, but also on my apparel printer. You will not believe the difference that these two. Also, why you are never going to put your DTF transfer film directly on this sticky platen, but yet you are also not going to use the DTG platen that came with your machine. We're going to get to all of it, but we are going to start first in xTool Studio. So let's go. Okay, so here I am in xTool Studio. I have, well, I don't have it connected. Let's just connect it, because what we are going to do here is get this set up to print our DTF on the xTool O1 Omni. Okay, so we are now connected. Right here, I'm going to start where it says mode. I need to change this because I'm not going to do UV flatbed mode. I'm going to do DTF mode. So one thing that I want to point out here, it appears that you use the same flatbed for UV printing and DTF printing. DTG is the only one that you use the frame that has the like magnetic frame on it. Okay, so we're not doing that today. We are doing DTF mode. So that's what I'm going to select here. Material, you obviously need to make sure that you select that you are using DTF film. So if you don't have it selected already, you can just do a quick search and select film. Okay, make sure there's a couple of different options here. All right, so these are all xTool materials. This one is one that looks like what you could get for the apparel printer because it has these the holes on the side. I'm just going to click A3 film and apply. Okay, now you've got, because you're in DTF mode and because you've picked DTF film, you've got all of these options here that are different than if you were printing UV. All right, so for this, I am just going to leave it. The only thing I'm going to change is I'm going to put this on standard. Color and white means that you are going to have your color mode, your color layer, and then you're going to have white print on top. Yes. Color first, white on top. The reason being, you need the white on top so then you can put the powder down and then cure that, and then it flips over onto the shirt like as if you were doing HTV. So it has to print, which is why this is a default, in mirror. So that is correct. Do not turn this off or your print is going to be backwards. For now, ink density 100%, white 100%. You could drop this down. I typically put my white at 75%. And if you're on a white shirt, you can go even lower than that. I don't even think you need 2 layers of this, but I'm going to leave that because it is the default. Okay, next, just bring in our file. So I'm just going to click import. I know I have a couple of test files over here from, I think it was yesterday. So let me just find one really quickly. And we'll pull one of these in here. Okay, let's see. I'm trying to find one that has some white in it so you guys can see. Okay, this doesn't really have a whole lot of white, but we've got white-ish areas. Okay, so actually it does have white because, oh no, it doesn't. I was thinking it was around there. Okay, so we've got this here. This is right now large. You can see it's almost 12 by 12. I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm going to do one other thing. I am going to see, because we'll be able to process and it'll give us an estimate of how long it's going to take. I am going to see how long it would take to print on the Omni versus also on my apparel printer. Okay, so that's going to be an interesting comparison. Okay, so now I've got this as like 6 by 6. So this would be for like a child shirt. All right, next thing that we need to do is put our film on the flatbed. So I'm going to do that. Okay, so over here on my Omni, you can see I have the large platen in there. That's the one we're going to use. It has this clear cover on there. That's just the protective film on the adhesive mat, on the adhesive platen. Now, I'm going to leave it there because I'm a little bit afraid of putting DTF transfer film directly on here, because when you peel it up, it's going to curl like you just showed. So I'm just going to grab a piece of paper. This was just handy. It's just the instructions for the DTG platen. So I'm going to put that on there because it's not quite as slippery. And then what I need to do is grab a piece of DTF film. And that is what we are going to print on. Now, I'm just cutting this off a roll. This is not xTool DTF material. This is just generic that I had in my office from a different DTF printer. But I'm just going to cut a small piece off of there and put it directly in the middle of the platen. It doesn't have to be in the middle, but that's where I'm placing it. You do want to make sure that you're printing on the correct side. It's a little bit difficult to tell, but the one that is like a little more cloudy, has no sheen to it, that's the side you want to put up, and the side that you want to print on. You're going to know right away if you printed on the wrong side because your ink will be kind of like smeary. Okay, so let's move back over to the software and we will do a quick scan so that we can get this previewed in the software and know where to position our image. So this is what is going to then give us the preview in the software. Now it's going to be a little bit more challenging for us to see where the DTF film is because we have that other layer behind it, but I think we'll be able to make it out just fine. Okay, so here's our preview. You can kind of see where my film is on here. So I'm just going to move that into that area. I'm going to actually make it a little bit smaller so we make sure we hit it. Okay, now this is all you have to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click process, and it's telling me that this, first of all, it's telling me this estimated time. Okay, so it's going to take about 10.5 minutes to print this. It's also, you can see now that it is mirrored. So that's exactly what you want. Okay. All right. So let's just click print. So it's obviously doing a print head cleaning first. So we just have to wait for that and then it'll start. So, okay. So I sped this part up about 20 times just intentionally because I wanted you to see the process and what the flatbed is doing. Now, when we get to where I move the camera to the overtop so you can see it printing from the top down, that is at double the speed. It's not 20 times, it's basically 2 times speed. So slower than what you would saw at the beginning. But it's hard to tell it's slower because that part at the beginning where it's doing the print head cleaning, that part's slow. That was about 3 minutes worth. This right here showed me why it was so different and why it takes so much longer than the apparel printer. And I actually decided I'm going to do a whole separate video on the comparison because it's so drastic. You're going to be shocked. But basically what's happening here is the entire CMYK is being laid down first, and then it's coming back and doing the layer of white. And then what happens is, because that default, if you remember I said I usually only do 1 layer of white, but I'm going to leave it because they have 2. That's what's happening here. It does a second layer, but it does all 1 layer, then the next, whereas the apparel printer trails itself, and that saves a bunch of time. So this did take over 13 minutes for everything. Okay, and just as we finish up, I'm leaving this on regular speed. And the reason I'm doing that is so that you can see, because I speed it up because you guys don't want to sit through 13 minutes of this. Nobody's going to watch that. But this is the real-time speed. And now when we get to the end of this, what's going to happen is the flatbed is going to go to the bottom. And then that is the end of the process for the DTF transfer that the Omni can do. So at this point, you need to take the transfer off. Now, this is where it's going to be really important and why I didn't want the DTF film directly on that adhesive bed, because what you're going to see is that I can slide the transfer off as opposed to having to pick and peel it up and have it curl. The ink is still wet. So that is why I really didn't want to have to pick up and peel it away, because I was afraid that 1, the ink would kind of fold over itself, 2, it could smear, it's still wet, it might drip. So I would be cautious with that, and I would recommend that you not put your transfer directly on the adhesive part of your mat. Okay, so my transfer is like 70% done. The next step, and I have a whole separate video on this because it is a couple of more steps. The next step is that I have to apply powder. This needs to be done manually with the Omni because there's no way to powder and cure the powder with the Omni. So you either need an oven, a curing oven, or you need the Wonderpress, which has a built-in curing module if you get that add-on to the Wonderpress. Okay, so I'm going to show you in the other video how to do it with the Wonderpress, but you also could use like I said, another heating oven. I will put those links in the description of this video. I will also have that other video up shortly, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. But I did want you guys to see the full process of making the actual transfer, but because it was getting so long, I wanted to make a separate video so that you could see how to then do the applying the powder, curing the powder, and then how to press this onto a shirt. Also, as I mentioned, the amount of time that it took to print this transfer versus the exact same transfer on my apparel printer was astounding. I could not believe the difference. I am telling you, you could make 10 more of these in the time it took to do one of these. You would not believe it. So I have a separate video on that. Again, that one is coming as well, kind of depending on when you are watching. They might both be out. They might, one, if you're watching this as it premieres, the other one will be coming as well. So make sure you subscribe so you don't miss anything. I have tons of content coming out on the Omni. And as always, if you are looking for a personalized same-day one-on-one help, you don't want to wait, you want to get US-based support, I offer all of that through Silhouette U for anything that you see here on my channel, whether it's UV or laser or white tone or silhouette or xTool DTF or other DTF, whatever it is. If it's on this channel, I offer personalized same-day one-on-one support all through Silhouette U, so don't be confused by the name. If you use the code YouTube, you can get 50% off when you join. All right, guys, see you soon.